Bishop, yeah.
How are you, sir? How are you? Are you okay?
We talked on email and then
I can remember.
And then you never responded, and I was so sad.
Honestly, I'll show you something. Yeah.
My goodness, that's a big phone.
It is. Last count. Sorry, 1 second.
This is all the emails you get?
All the emails, continuous, and these are just
okay. So you're too
in a matter of 2 hours.
No,
So
you're too
I
popular.
actually, honestly, I lose some of them, and I don't even know where they are. I can remember
give you a
having
number, then I
responded.
can text you.
I think that's even better. We'll do that. We will exchange numbers, because I could remember I said yes. I need to email you back to let you know.
You see,
then
it comes when you become
1001
super
thing.
famous, you know. Like
No, nothing like that.
Everybody will go, you know.
Nothing at all like that. I do apologize, but
alright,
it's just catching up. And there are so many people, and I actually have to now email them and tell them, look, honestly and sincerely, I mean this. If I do respond to you, it might be a month and a half or two. But by the time I get there, I have to remember that I emailed them.
That's right. At least we got video on.
Absolutely, yeah. So we will. You do now, right? Okay.
Yeah, come here quite a lot. Obviously for me, the idea is to speak to people like yourself.
Yeah.
It's no good speaking to people who are not too sure of things. I want
obviously.
I can be wrong about a lot of things. So it's a case of having a conversation. Because I think the last time we talked about the universe, and your colleague wanted me to discuss that again with you, even though we've talked about it before.
Which colleague wanted me?
This gentleman here.
What for? You have a discussion with him. Even better.
Because we left it last time as like, let's have a conversation, we had to go, whatever, about free speech. Because
yes, that's correct.
So
we can talk about that if you want. We can either go on Skype or something like that.
Oh, you don't want to do it here? Okay.
Hey?
You don't want to talk about
No, we can talk about it now. Yeah, I have no problem
but
with
I know
free
you wanted
speech.
me to talk about the universe and stuff, but you must have talked about that.
Too many times enough.
I'm fine.
I apologize. We'll refer you to the video.
But if there's a question, ask a question, then you know, the two of us can
we can discuss it, not a
so if you've got
problem.
a question about the universe in some way, we can talk about it.
Yeah,
I'll get to a
possibly.
point where I go, I don't know, and this is the
There's
best
no problem, and we can go.
You know,
That's not a problem at all. Yeah, of course.
The rest is speculation, isn't it? So
absolutely. I mean, there is only so much that we are able to establish. After which we have to go into that realm of speculation anyway.
Correct.
But until then, we can have quite a bit of fun.
Let's have some fun. One thing that I did notice
Freedom of speech.
because I've watched quite a few of your videos. I'm guessing I don't want to put words in your mouth, let me ask you rather than guess. Do you subscribe to the Quran as being in some way science proving some of the Quran? Or do you
I don't
step away from that?
No, I don't view it that way.
Okay, good.
If there are certain facts in the Quran, as an example, I'm just quoting, do not the unbelievers see the heavens and the earth were joined together and we clothe them asunder?
Yes.
Just a common example.
That's a good one to use.
Yeah, it's a common example. Now, it is talking about some phenomena there. Yeah?
Sure.
Whether we want to call it the earth, the heavens, whatever, it's talking about something. Now, unfortunately, my view is that the word science itself, only meant knowledge. And knowledge is quite a huge spectrum, okay? But applying the scientific method nowadays, we seem to have, is this scientific, is this not scientific? Yes? It's not, is this knowledge or is this not knowledge? Yeah? So, it comes in many forms, in many facets. So if I look at that verse, I think to myself, okay, it's talking about the earth and the heavens. It's addressing a particular group of people. It's saying, do you not see? What is it that is being described there? Yeah? The heavens and the earth were joined together. Now what does that mean? I cannot investigate it by just speculating, and just saying, this is what it means. No, it is addressing a particular point, and I want to look at it and see what is it. So I start looking at facts relevant to the subject matter, and I'm starting to say, wait a minute, the whole of the universe may have been compressed. Is that what it is talking about? Okay, let's investigate further.
Yes.
Let's see what exactly it's trying to say. I might come back with the best answer possible, but it may not necessarily mean that is the answer that it is considering. Yes? So,
and I think you're on safer ground when you say that, in the sense of like God is sending a message,
yes,
and this is almost like a part of the message, but
yes,
we shouldn't take it as in like literally what science is showing. It's just like almost like a metaphor in a sense. I think you're more on safer ground with that.
I wouldn't consider it a metaphor. I mean, if it's talking about physical aspects of the universe that we know, so when it's saying the heavens and the earth were joined together, now the earth is solid, we know there's something there, there's some matter being considered. So to me, can I consider that to be a scientific statement, or can I consider it to be a statement that seems to be telling me about a certain aspect of what we call scientific inquiry? Which one would it be?
I'm not sure whether it's either of those, and you can tell me why. It seems to me when I read that part that there's a message there for people, and this is like by the by. So, oh Muhammad, do you know that I created this, and here's what you need to do. So it's almost like, just in a sense, it's like Allah's telling Muhammad how wonderful he is, and here's part of the attributes that I'm telling you how wonderful I am, and here's part of my attributes.
Yes.
So don't concentrate on that, but concentrate on the rest of the message I'm giving you. Because if it was really about science, wouldn't Allah have gone into much more detail? So it's like a passing comment almost, in which case I'm fine with that.
Now, if I can agree with what you are thinking, but if I were to turn it around and say, right, you are saying that if it was to do with science, then the Creator would have gone more into detail. Why?
To be more accurate, because when I look at the verse as an external person, and I compare it with what the inflationary model tells us, they don't exactly match. Now we can do a little bit of a conversion to make it match, but it's not as accurate. So looking from externally, that wouldn't be the best explanation that I would have used in the book.
Right. Okay, let's look at it that way. But let me take the words for what they are. Do not unbelievers see? The heavens and the earth were joined together. Then we clove them asunder. Now, why is it not fitting with the inflationary model?
Good. Okay, good question. So, what was the first part? Say the first part again.
Do not the unbelievers see?
Yes.
The heavens and the earth.
Good. We stop there for a moment.
Yeah.
Why did he say the heavens and the earth?
That's why I'm asking you.
Okay, good. So, what was the earth? So, if we step it back, because this is essentially my understanding from when you talk about this, you want to step it back and go, the earth was part of this singularity and they were clothed asunder.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you take the verse for what it is, how is it not fitting? So if we follow what you just said, if the earth is made up of components, and we take it right back to its origin, what is it?
It's matter, isn't it?
It's matter.
Correct.
But if we are to take matter and compress it, are the heavens going to be included in it?
The heavens would
be... The way we understand it.
The way you guys understand it, yes.
How do you understand it?
So the heavens for me isn't the word I'd use. I'd use the word space, but maybe that wasn't the word they used in those days.
Let's say.
Different word.
Yeah, let's say. But the concept is there. So now I would ask that if we were to take that according to that understanding and we are to compress it, are the heavens and the earth together?
Yes.
Okay. And then they are cloven asunder. Before we go there, if it is compressed, anything that happens thereafter will fall into the inflationary model.
Correct.
So when it says we clove them asunder, what is that?
Good. So the problem I have is that they've used the word earth, because what came before the earth?
Okay.
What is required for the earth to be here? If we look back in cosmological time.
Excellent question. Let's address it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
If you are here and you are looking at the earth, and then you are told the heavens and the earth were together, will you understand what the import is of the verse?
Will I understand the import of the verse?
Yes. When it is revealed. Because you know what the earth is.
At the time, I guess one could say that. At the time.
But now, at that time, when it came down, you could understand why the word earth was used. Today, when we look back at it, we would have to ask that further question. The heavens and the earth were joined together, and then they were cloven. At one time, they were together, and then they were cloven asunder. The question I would ask is this, because the premise of our discussion is, can we consider it to be a scientific statement? Or is it alluding to a particular fact? Now, I would suggest that the verse is talking in scientific terminology. What I mean by that is we know what the earth is constituted of.
Yeah.
Okay? If I were to divorce knowledge from science the way it is being done, unfortunately, today, then we would have a problem. But if we are to include all information as knowledge, yes, then the scientific method is a separate thing.
Sure.
To science itself. Yes, I would find, just as an example, this verse is talking about natural phenomena. Whether, as you said, if you want to give it an esoteric bend, fine. But we have to come to the conclusion that, well, it's talking about earth. Well, we know what the earth is. Yeah, it's talking about sama, heavens, whatever that is. Okay, you can call it space. Okay, but it is talking about what we would consider today as natural phenomena. Now, if it is talking about natural phenomena, does that come within the window of science?
I would say so, yeah.
It would. So if I was looking at that verse, I would have no harm in saying, well, it seems to be leaning towards a scientific element here. What is the fact is what we need to answer.
Sure. So why would it not be better to have said the sun and the heavens were cloven asunder? The reason I asked you that question is because before the earth, the sun had to be here. The earth could not have been here if you accept cosmology in the sense of...
When we say, if we accept cosmology, the way we currently understand it.
Yes.
Okay.
The way the solar system came about is through accretion, isn't it? So stuff's spinning and spinning.
Yes.
Started with the sun.
Something. Well, that is what is theorized.
Yes, unless there's...
Okay.
I'm not sure there's any other competing theories. So
not at the moment.
That's the best evidence we have.
Absolutely, yeah. Best explanation.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the sun was the first thing in the universe, then the planets eventually formed.
No.
No? Okay.
The sun in the universe.
No, sorry, the solar system.
In
My
the
apologies.
solar system. Yeah.
My apology, misspoke.
No problem.
The solar system. So the sun is the
As it is
center or the
understood.
first thing in the universe.
Is it because it was a big body according to our understanding?
Correct.
Which is not a problem. Logical.
Gravitational, etc., and everything else started to spin. Then the planets formed.
Okay.
Correct. So the planets came after the sun.
Yeah.
So just from a logical point of view, from my point of view, from God looking down, giving the message, wouldn't it be more logical, in a sense, to say the sun and the heavens were cloven asunder? Because at least the sun was before the earth.
Right.
Now I do accept that even in those days people looked at the sun, but they might not have understood the sun. So it could be that your explanation says, well, the earth is a better way to understand it. I'm going, if I look at it now, is that the best explanation of using those two words?
Yeah. From what you are saying, I can understand your point of perspective. But there's one element you have not considered here.
Go ahead.
You see, if we were to take the logic that you applied, then wouldn't it have been better saying the sun and the earth? Yeah? Is that what you said?
The sun and the earth. No, the sun and the heavens.
The sun and the heavens were together.
Or the...
Let's say that. But does that mean that now you have restricted the universe only to the solar system?
No.
Okay.
But they didn't know about this. Remember, they didn't know about that.
Now, who did?
Well, the Almighty, theoretically.
Okay. Now today, if we look around, you are actually pointing out a fact here. Because if today we are addressing this, we are coming to the conclusion that everything, not only the solar system, but the whole of the universe was compressed, from what we understand today.
Yes. The only reason I say that is because I
understand what you mean by that.
The only reason I say that is they don't use that words because I was listening to Alan Guth, and I always used to say, oh, there's a singularity. We talk about a singularity. He's going, don't talk about the singularity. The only thing we know for sure is that the universe inflated in a very short period of time. We don't know what's before that. So I went, okay, I'm not using that word anymore.
I can agree.
So compressed is probably a word, but we don't know what into is essentially what they say.
Agreed. But whatever it is, whether it was a singularity or it was not a singularity, the one thing we can accept, at least for the time being, is that everything was compressed.
Yes.
So, logic is dictating that the appropriate statement that is made by the Quran is entirely correct. It would have been an error had it said the sun and the heavens. Because today we would have turned around and said, well, that's not all the universe is. So you are actually proving the statement correct in a way.
Not sure that's the case.
That's fine, you're entitled to that, but if I can just follow it
Sure,
through.
carry on.
So you're absolutely right. Why couldn't it? But then there's a logic here, I think to myself, right, okay. I don't know if you've, Professor Roger Penrose wrote a book.
I know of him, I don't know the book necessarily.
Right,
Go
okay,
ahead.
not a problem. It's about 1,100 pages. It's this thick, okay?
Right.
And he's going through all the equations in relation to how, you know, it all started with Plato, Aristotle, and the Platonic mathematical ideas, etc. And he goes in, and he goes into a lot of detail, yeah? And I'm reading that, and I'm thinking, right, okay, now this is just one aspect, yeah? Because this logic, that why didn't the creator say X? Why didn't the creator say Y? If he was going to explain why did he not say X? Actually, if you think about it, what about the brother?
Not for me. I've got water here.
Are you sure?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah? So, I think to myself, now, the logic here is actually proving how the Quran has actually come down. Because if you think about it, I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Rob.
Yes.
If you think about it, let's take physics. To know everything there is to know about physics, how many books do you think we would need?
Who knows? Too many.
Too many.
Infinity.
But that's only physics. You're right, actually. Yeah, physics. Now, if we were to take every subject matter that is in a local university, how many books of information would you need?
Tons.
How then are you going to compress all that information into succinct statements and contain it within a book containing 1,000 pages? How would you go about doing that?
You'd have to edit it down.
But to do that, you would need to know absolutely everything about the subject matter.
I'm guessing so. Well, do you? I don't know that you do. I mean, I'm not sure you'd need to know everything
That
about
would
the
be
subject.
illogical. If you don't know everything about the subject matter, you will never be able to condense it into the appropriate statement that is required to be able to explain everything.
Oh, now you're saying explain everything. Okay, fair enough.
No, about the subject matter, obviously.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So, the logic is actually fitting there. Because a lot of people say, yeah, why didn't the creator, if there is one, why didn't he say X, Y, and Z? And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, if you use the same kind of logic to everyday life, you will actually establish why the Quran, as an example, came down the way it did. Because every statement, many Muslims will tell you, look, it contains statements which conceivably would not have been known at the time it was revealed. Yeah? So we call them scientific truths or scientific statements. Now, I don't hold to words like that. What I do say is if there is a statement that is purporting to talk about a particular aspect of natural phenomena, then it needs to be investigated.
Absolutely.
Yeah? And when that investigation is undertaken, we have to see whether it is fitting within the model in totality. Now, here's a bit of an issue that me and you will have. If I look at the statement, I go back 500 years, yes, when we hadn't known about a lot of this, that statement was still present. But the way it was interpreted wouldn't have been the way it is interpreted today. Correct?
Possibly, yeah.
Yes. But if there was a far-sighted individual and he put it down, he said, look, this is what I think it's talking about. And then today we found it, a lot of us would consider him as a seer, S-E-E-R, yes? One who was able to, like Nostradamus. Yeah, he was able to see what was going to happen in 1999. It never happened. But the point is, that's how we look at people. Yeah? Now, the way I view things is simple. If there is a statement that is talking about what we would consider natural phenomena, and in today's system, we call it scientific X or scientific Y, then I would be compelled to say, well, it is talking about something which we can consider to be scientific. Whether it is or isn't is a matter of debate. And only the facts will establish the truth of the assertion that is being made.
So I think where we're at is you're saying that this...
It's well hot. Sorry.
Good. No, that's all right. At least it'll get cold eventually. Scientifically.
There you are. See? Yeah.
So that's why I say I think that the where you're on safer ground is not to push the scientific thing so much, which you don't do, to be honest. In the sense of like, hey, this is scientific. Look how it's been proven by inflationary model. We don't there's a few guys here that do that, and fortunately, I know you've gone into an explanation, but you don't come and use that as a proof, do you? That's not something you would do.
No, what I do not do, you're absolutely right. I would not push it like that. But I am hard pressed to find somebody who can disprove it. Now, in that context, how one wants to take it, because I know that at this moment in time, we don't know everything there is to know about the universe. We don't.
Correct.
Okay? And there's a possibility that tomorrow, this whole model may change. Now, the question is, when it does, will it fit within the statement that is considered? Yeah?
Yes.
To me, it's open. But it's still talking about natural phenomena. And the way it has spoken about it, one has to consider 1,400 odd years ago, would somebody have come up with such a succinct statement, considering, as you rightly pointed out, that the only thing that was observable are the things you talked about, the sun, the moon, the stars, etc. So for any person to go beyond that, one has to look at that and think about why and how this came about. It doesn't necessarily prove an assertion one way or another, but it is something to be considered.
It is. I'm not a historian, but my thought is that there could have been other people around, and so other people say that those sort of theories were common at that time. You might say, no, that was a unique theory. Nobody thought about the world in that way. I've heard other guys here go, no, the Sumerians or whoever it was.
Yes.
I'm not a historian, so I don't know. They had a similar model.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, if we look at it, so if this is a message for all time, and I come as a non-believer, which is exactly what the word, oh, non-believers, do they not see that the heaven and the earth were?
Yes.
Now I look at that and I go, okay, that's an interesting statement, but if I'm being quite critical about it, it doesn't accurately represent what science says. So I'm fine with it being almost more allegorical, but if I'm going to hold a fairly high critical bar, I'm not going to accept that as an accurate representation today. You would quite happily say it's an accurate representation of what they knew then, which I'm not necessarily going to argue with. I'm not a scientist to know what they didn't or didn't know at that stage. But if I look today, the way that the inflationary model is described, which you kind of have a bit of a backdoor to, I notice, going, it's the best explanation, but it's not the all-powerful one.
No, I didn't say that. I said it isn't in totality, do it?
Sure.
We know it can change.
But you did make the statement that went, if it all changes tomorrow,
yes,
which is highly unlikely. What is most likely to happen is we'll just keep improving it. It's not like tomorrow we'd suddenly go back to the steady state model. Yeah,
yes.
There is a flat earth. You heard him. Yeah. I was laughing. I'm on your side, by the way, on that.
Not to worry. Yeah.
It was comical.
I see. But respectfully, Rob, what I was saying to you, that look, according to what we know today, yes, because I can see what you mean and I understand. Yeah. If I'm looking at the inflationary model,
Yes.
I'm saying tomorrow it can change. Yeah. I'm not talking about the whole thing being taken out, because there are certain things which you can't reverse. Okay. So when I am saying to you, look, you are saying from a scientific point of view today,
Yes.
that particular statement would not fit. Yeah.
Yes.
Now I did ask, okay, what doesn't fit with the inflationary model?
The way the statement is written for a non-believer today. So had that statement said, disbelievers, do you not see that in the beginning there was an expansion of unbelievable proportions and that's how everything was created? Now I'm going, wow, that's extremely accurate. The way it's phrased there for me, would you agree with me that I'm at least somewhat reasonable to look at that and go, that doesn't match exactly with what we say today? Just the way it's written today, as a non-believer, with a critical view of that, going, that doesn't exactly match what's today. That's all I'm saying.
Right, I can agree with you. What I am asking you in return is, okay, I accept what you are saying, that it doesn't. But what I am asking you is, what doesn't?
So for me particularly, the part about the earth. Well, even the heavens, although I understand that was the terminology used in those days. However, just my very low brain, no Allah involved here. If I were writing it, another way to have written it would have been to say, oh, non-believers, do not accept that, from a small point we rapidly expanded into the heavens that we see today, the earth, the sun, and everything that we see, and therefore, why would you not believe? So if it had been written or stated differently, that would appeal more to me. Now I can go, wow, that is very accurate.
Yeah.
But what I notice is that a lot of the verses are very broad, and then they can be, quote, interpreted. And some people, and I think you've alluded to a little bit, and the very tall fella says that as well, well, hey, science isn't an absolute. I agree. But that also gives Islam a back door, because Islam's bar is very high. Christianity's bar is very low. Christians go, hey, the Bible is inspired. You say the Quran is directly, word for word, what Gabriel said to Allah. So your bar is very high.
Absolutely.
Whereas the Christian bar is much lower. They can go, hey, it's all allegorical, it's just words, here's the central message. The challenge then becomes that some of those verses are very broad, so they can be, quote, interpreted in certain ways. If tomorrow we found out that in fact it was a steady state model of the universe, somehow that could possibly be reinterpreted, or other verses could be interpreted to match that.
Right.
That's the sort of issue that I have.
Yes. Yeah. But you see, for you to be able to establish whether it would be, how can we say, manipulated.
No, I wouldn't use that word. Just interpret
I'm using it.
Okay.
Yeah. To fit whatever we found, because that is what it will have to be. It is stretching the imagination. However, if, for example, we say, okay, tomorrow we've decided that it was, we revert back to the steady state, then in effect you are saying it is totally debunking the idea of this expansion model. Yeah, the inflationary model.
I'm positing that, yes.
Yeah.
Not that would happen, but yes.
No, but that's the point though. If it is not going to happen, then it is purely speculation. However, when the verse that we are referring to is talking about, again I'm asking, you see, when it says the heavens and the earth were joined together,
Yeah.
we clothe them asunder. Now, when it says they were joined together loosely, okay? I'm asking you,
Yeah.
what is wrong with that statement?
It's either not entirely accurate or more could have been added. So in other words, the
Right, let's
earth,
start with that, not entirely accurate.
so because the earth itself is a small component of even the visible things they could see at that time.
Agreed.
So if it had said, for example,
No, sorry, Rob.
Go ahead.
In the context of what we know today,
yeah,
the heavens and the earth being joined together, what is wrong with that?
just the earth part, why would they not just say, for
Is it wrong first?
it's, when I say wrong, what word would I use? It's not entirely accurate would be a better way to put it.
Not entirely accurate means that you are saying, yes, it is true, but not as true as I want it to be.
Or a better way, it's vague. It's vague.
Right,
would
wait
be
a
way
minute.
to put it.
If we are going to talk about it being vague, I would agree with you. But if we know that there's the heavens, yeah, and the earth is not a vague issue, is it?
The earth isn't vague.
It isn't. So it's talking about something which we definitively can accept. But the point is not that. The point is the verse is actually saying the heavens and the earth were joined together. I am saying I can agree with you, and you are right where you slightly took it back and said, well, I wouldn't say it is wrong. I would say it could be better. Yeah? What I am saying to you is, look, for you to be able to determine what you just said, you now are going to have to confidently assert to me that you know in totality everything there is to know about the workings of the universe, for you to be able to confidently assert to me, look, this is how it should have been put. Can you do that?
No, I can't.
You can't. Okay, let's take it.
Okay, but why do I need to do that? Because even if we go back to the time of 1400 years ago, the earth was not the only thing that was out there. They could see, what could they see apart from the earth?
It was one. The moon, the stars, the sun.
Correct. By the way, just as a side point, are those all included in the heavens, or are they separate like the earth?
Now here is, what a good question. I'm asking you see, we are introducing additional elements, which is fine, but I would say, now if this verse is saying the heavens and the earth, would that include all the stars and the moon, the sun and everything else?
It could or it may not.
Right, excellent. I would suggest it is. Why do I say that? Because it is talking about the primal origin of the universe. When it's talking about the heavens and the earth being joined together, and then they were cloven asunder, when we use the second aspect of the verse, cloven asunder, okay, we would call it an explosion, call it a whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is, it has mentioned a specific issue which today we are aware of in more detail than we were then.
Correct.
Correct. But when it says the heavens and the earth, everything is being included. In fact, the question you asked goes back to the first issue you raised, where you said, why didn't it say the sun and the earth? Had that happened, today me and you confidently would have said the Quran got it wrong.
Not necessarily.
Oh, now you can say that even that would have been justified.
No, what I would have said is that
Agreed.
potentially that's a bit better.
Potentially it is better, but it would have been wrong, because if it talked about the entirety of the universe, the solar system is an aspect of the universe.
But it didn't talk about the entirety of the universe, did it? It just said the heavens, which
there
is
we are.
what they knew at the time.
I'm so glad you mentioned it. So tell me, what does heavens strictly mean?
So my understanding of heavens as a non-believer, or do I need to give you your definition?
I don't mind whichever one you want.
Okay. So my understanding of the heavens is what we can physically see when we look up there, apart from the clouds. So on a
Excellent.
starry night,
Yeah.
we see
Now,
the heavens.
Would I suggest to you that are there what you would call conventions in language? Are you familiar with that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Conventions in language are certain things are used to mean a certain thing without us wanting to definitively explain what it means. Are you following?
Okay.
Okay. So when the word heavens is used, yes, say in the language, in the Arabic language, does it restrict it to what you think? Or is it maybe more expansive? I would suggest it is more expansive.
It's more expansive, and why do you say that?
If it is, like I said, there are conventions of language, then you go to the lexicons and find. But I am saying to you, because when it uses the word heavens, yeah, it is talking about the vast expanse. Now, the point is not that. The point again I'm returning to, whatever you say, that look, it could have been improved. The statement could have been better. Whatever it is you posit,
Yes.
I would say to you, I can agree with you, but for one thing.
Yes.
For us to confidently assert a particular aspect of the statement being correct or incorrect, we would need to be in possession in totality of all the facts in relation to that matter. Do we agree?
No, not necessarily. Explain why you say that.
Let's take the scientific view here. Yeah?
Sure.
We will never be able to say this is absolutely scientifically true. Can we say that?
No.
Why not?
But nobody ever claims that. So now you're going to
I agree with
an
you.
impossibly high bar.
I agree. What was that, an impossibly?
High bar.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If me and you have a bar and we, for 1 second, include a creator, where would the bar be?
If we include the creator, where would the bar be for what?
For establishing whether in totality we know about the subject matter.
So you mean if we posit that there is a God,
No, I'm saying, you just said it's an impossibly high bar. I'm saying for us
science,
humans,
no, just when you use the word
exactly,
science to be absolutely 100% true.
right. Why not?
Because we're not able to have all that information, we're somewhat fallible.
Not only fallible, at this moment in time, as you are rightly pointing out, possibly without realizing, we have limited faculties.
Sure.
And by definition, with limited faculties, none of us can say we absolutely know everything about a certain subject matter. Can we?
No.
We can't. So the question therefore arises this. If you are going to confidently assert to me, look, this statement could have been better written, yeah? This statement could have been better written, I would suggest, okay, no problem, I can accept your premise, but that premise ought to be backed up by what I'm about to suggest. That for you to make an absolutely, again the word absolutely.
But I'm not making an absolutely.
I'm so glad. Because if a statement comes from an absolute entity, yes, we would have to consider the statement according to that understanding. So logic is dictating to me that if you tell me, well, this verse doesn't actually represent the facts the way they are today.
Yes.
I am saying to you, wait a minute, let's not look at it that way, let's look at it the other way. Does the statement, or what it is alluding to, does it agree with what we know today?
Broadly.
I'm so glad. The fact is you agree that it does. Whether it's broadly or not is a question we can address.
But it's an important question.
Of course it is. But if it does broadly include it in, are you suggesting to me that there's a possibility that 500 years down the line, okay, because it is so broad, yeah, are you suggesting that 500 years down the line, when perhaps we may find another aspect of the universe which we do not know about today, it will still fit within the statement?
It may do, it may not do, hey?
Excellent.
Could be either way.
Excellent. It may not do. Now,
That's the beauty of the verse, isn't it?
for a, no, not at all.
Okay.
It actually establishes your point for you. Yeah? Because if it is broad, then you are making the admission that it possibly can be included. But for that to happen, yes, the writer